Hey everyone, guess who's back? It's Kamish back here with another recap for you. And obviously going to start with Dynasty. And the storyline in Dynasty, obviously, over the past week have been the trades. And that's no more. I mean, no more has just set himself up to probably win this league for 5 years running. You got Neighbors, you got Lamb, you got Jamar Chase, the top three wide receivers in fantasy on the roster. Yikes. It's you got to wonder how it happened, but it happened, and now No More almost put up 400 last week. So, Couch and Chicken Turtles is having one hell of a season, but when No More is putting up 400, the arms race might have to continue for Couch and Chicken Turtles. I try to keep pace. I will say this, I'm just happy I'm not in No More's division. You can see he's taking over the top scoring leads, so he put himself in a position for top scoring money, division winner money, as well as you could see he could win regular season championship money as well at 5-0 and potentially championship. He set himself up for really good position here. The game of the week was a joke. It was him versus Golden Knights, two undefeated teams, and No More, I think, beat him by almost 200 to kind of put it into perspective. So it wasn't a great game. But anything can happen. I remember the old LOC dynasty. Deuce Bombers did the same thing. Deuce Bombers never won a title when I was there. He always lost in the first round, second round. So anything can happen. I don't care who you have on your team. Of course, Neighbors is already out for the year. Lamb's also out with the ankle, so injuries could happen as well. When I look at the standings here, you got three teams, four, five, six, seven that are above 3-2. So that means out of all those teams in the 2 and 3 bracket, one's going to make the playoffs. So they're all fighting each other for that last playoff spot. There's 8 teams there fighting for that last playoff spot at 2 and 3. So that's pretty incredible. Lowest scoring team still Deuce Bombers. Deuce Bombers again. I said it last week. I'm going to say it again this week. I think is a very strong candidate for the Hugh Jackson Award this year. Looking at game of the week for Dynasty, I think there's a few candidates for next week. I got Memphis versus Golden Knights as one. Age Crew versus the Mother Tucker as another one, and Sueño versus Clendy. So some really good divisional matchups there, and we'll see if those ones come to fruition as being good matchups. All right, next up we go to Tier 3, and yeah, it was pretty exciting to watch the Hot Chuba versus New England Turncoats matchup. I did have picked Hot Chuba to win that division. He's now taken over. We got a new owner, Chris and King Su Panda, and he's already a division winner as he found a way to knock out throwbacks, I think it was. So, yeah, big win there for the new owner. Already put himself in the top scoring bracket as well. He's the third highest scoring team. So, welcome, Chris. And I hope you're liking the format. You inherited a great team, so it's, nothing to be demotivated about. In fact, you should be motivated to move up, to try to move up quickly. And as I mentioned in the season preview, this is a great year to move up with two teams all having already retired in Tier 1. And as we get closer to the eventual winners to move up, we'll talk about how many spots it's going to be. We don't really truly know because if a retired team finishes last in Tier 1, well, a team won't drop, right? That's the rule we have. But if a team other than a retired team finishes last, there will be few teams that need to be replaced. So that would be great news for Tier 3 owners moving up to Tier 2 and Tier 2 moving up to Tier 1. And you can also see in Tier 3, every team now has a win on the board, so there is no winless team. So it is definitely a competitive Tier 3. And the storyline for Tier 3 this past week, of course, was the Neighbors drop, created a lot of controversy. I'm sure the owner who dropped Neighbors knows better now moving forward. You don't drop a superstar in a league like this. The I-to-R spot will definitely help with that next year, but it didn't help you for this year. So just keep that in mind. You've faced a lot of heat, and well, I know you can stay in the kitchen, so it's all good. Game of the weeks for Tier 3, I got Family Discounts versus Ooh Spicy. Here's a team coming on. Ooh Spicy started 0-2. He's got 3 straight wins. throwbacks versus King Su Panda. So I was wrong. King Su must have beat somebody else. So I do have throwbacks versus King Su Panda for this week. And then Cannonball 007 gets his first win of the year. I got him in a game in the week with New England Turncoats because if he can get a second game win here, all of a sudden the playoff spots are looking a little bit different than they were this week. All right, folks. So now we move to tier two, and really the tier two storyline this week is just talking about the playoff format. So I know I said last week, oh, this is the bracket you don't want to be in for all these winless teams. The reality is for tier two, and actually for tier three too, but tier three you're not really dropping, so it doesn't matter. But in tier two, there's a consolation playoff round for the final 8 teams or the last 8 teams anyways. So you could be 0 and 8, 0 and 14 actually, or whatever the hell it is, how many games we play. Um, and then you go into consolation and win. And actually Memphis Mafia did this last year. He won the consolation last year, didn't drop, even though he had the worst record, I believe, in the regular season. So you can definitely still survive in tier two, even if you're 0 and 13, 14, whatever it'll be. And just you just got to be hot in the consolation round, right? But you still don't want to be in that bracket because then you're playing one of the better teams in consolation, right? So as an example, No Hawk 2 and Mr. Irrelevant would be playing one of those teams, and that's 3-2 right now, right? And you definitely wouldn't want to be playing one of those teams or even Sandusky Sandman at 2-3, in my opinion, for that matter. So likely would create some problems for you. Purple Unis is still the highest scoring team in tier two with over 1,400 at 3-2. Then you got myself, Silver Bullets, lowest scoring team. So actually, here's a team I'm actually really worried about in that consolation round. It's Jeff and Biscuits and Gravy. So remember, it doesn't matter if you're 2-3, Jeff. You still got to at least win one. You just got to win the first round consolation. You survive. So for all those teams out there, you just got to win the first round, then you're in. But if you don't, you better be worried, right? Mr. Irrelevant, another one of those teams, Bishop Sycamore. You'll see there has been a change for division winners. Silver Bullets now leads the division. For CDN Division Two, there is a logjam. 3 teams tied at 3-2. You like that beat Jordan McLovin. Jordan McLovin beat Silver Bullets. Silver Bullets beat You Like That. So then we have points for being the tiebreaker, and Silver Bullets has the highest points. Game of the week candidates, I got Johnny 8 Balls versus Silver Bullets, second high scoring team versus third high scoring team as a game of the week. Bishop Sycamore taking on Memphis Mafia. Memphis Mafia got his first loss here recently. Does he lose again now that he's going outside his division and playing some decent competition? And then the last one I got is Jordan McLovin versus Sandusky Sandman. I think this has huge playoff implications. I obviously being a member of CDN Division One, I think we're the best division, and I think Sandusky Sandman can beat Jordan McLovin, but time will tell. All right, folks. So we get to the last tier here for the week, and a few storylines for sure. We still got 2 undefeated teams, Finito and the 12th Man. I think you would have to put Finito right up there as one of those contending teams now for the championship. At the beginning of the year, we had 12th Man and Billsy Bobs, who you can see are first and third highest scoring teams. Can just take a sip of coffee. But now you got Finito there as the second highest scoring team. So I just played Finito. Finito looks strong, right? And a lot of things working out in his favor, it seems, this year. We still have a winless team. And the record does matter up here in Tier 1, and it's looking too good for a name. He's going to have to get it figured out here soon. Big loss to Fighting Geese, which I think was a winnable game. And unfortunately, Luke couldn't find a way to get that done. When you look at the top scoring teams here, or well, I mean, we got 12th man Finito, Bills Broads already went over that. I mean, the top teams in the standings. You can see that there will be 2 teams in that 3-2 bracket that won't even make the playoffs. So, heck of a playoff race this year. There are 2 Grace teams at 4-1 still, so we'll have to see if they start falling off. and Klenji at 3-2. So we'll have to see if he starts falling off as well. It would be in those teams' best interests to be in the consolation round. And the reason for that, of course, is because you're playing for a high pick. And if you're in a grace year, so it's going to be interesting. I don't know how many buyers and sellers are out there. I know there's some teams that have announced maybe they're buying, Green Lightning being one of them. You can see why he's the third lowest scoring team in the league. He just lost to Banjo Blitz. You can't lose to a team like Banjo Blitz with all those injuries right now. Puts him on a very difficult situation right now, because if Luke can find a way to get a win, I think he will eventually. You're going to be in trouble, Co. Unless Age Crew continues to get low scoring points there, he would be your saving grace. Division winners, nothing's changed here from last week. It is the same division winners. Your game of the week candidates, it's been hard to find game of the weeks across all the tiers, to be honest, just because of the matchups. But I'm going to go myself versus Klenji. I think it's a big game. I think it's got playoff implications. Klenji 3-2, me 2-3. Billsy Bob's Ramrods, similar. Ramrod's 2-3. He's having a pretty decent year, actually. Billsy Bob's sitting at through at 3-2, so you can see playoff implications there. And then the last game of the week, I was debating whether or not this one should be a game of the week, but I am going to throw it up there. Age Crew and Subotica Spartans. I just think looking at the matchups, this could be a lot closer than what it looks. And Subotica Spartans, of course, coming off that loss to his brother. First time he's played his brother in Tier 1, lost by less than a point. Obviously, that one could go to stack corrections, and Subotica Spartans could very well get the 4-1. We'll see. There wasn't many stack corrections this past week, though. And I think that one's just going to be a sneaky good matchup, even though the Age Crew is 1-4. All right, so that is your recap for this week. I will say lots of interesting developments. Obviously, it'll be money across all tiers moving forward, and really looking forward to what this week's going to bring. I am going to start changing up the format later in the year, where I'll talk about who the playoff teams are instead of just the record that you see there on the left, who's in the hunt and who's in the survival watch. So that'll change later on in the year. Might even change for next week, but I'll make that decision when I go through it. All right, folks, have an excellent week 6.